live. Okay, just
live broadcast has started.
So we're live, right?
Yay, I'll check the ASF page.
My dad is also putting on.
Yeah, I think we're actually live. So let's hope we're all live. I want to welcome everyone to the first of the series of all things Angelman syndrome with Amanda. I am excited for you guys to be here tonight. I see that there are some people viewing, so that means people can see us, hopefully. This is the first time we've done these live events, and I will tell you, it's been a joy trying to figure out how to do it. But we made it, and I have all my great friends with me. So the goal of these chats is to really start just talking about all things Angelman syndrome, asking questions, asking crazy questions, silly questions, hard questions, whatever they may be, to help inform and give more information to our community. And we are kicking it off with some great and amazing individuals in our community. For those of you that do not know, the Angelman Syndrome Foundation provide a service to you all through our resource team. And tonight you have our resource team on live with you to give their top tips in their area. So just in case you don't know, I'll have everyone introduce themselves here in a minute, but if you ever have questions about insurance, about IEPs and schooling, about medical equipment, about really anything Angelman syndrome, you can go to our website and request to meet with any of these resource directors, and they can spend time helping you through those specific concerns and questions that you have. So definitely take advantage of those. So we're super excited to have them here tonight. So I'm going to start off by having you guys introduce yourself. So Lizzie, let's start off by you and talk a little bit about who you are and what you do for the resource team.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here with you guys tonight. I am an angel mom. My son, Nathan, is 12 years old. He's actually going to be 13 on Saturday.
Oh, teenager!
I know, I can't believe it. So I help the resource team with finding products and resources and medical equipment, and I have created a guide to help you through that process. But if you guys need anything specific, I would love to work with you and help figure it out, because it's a challenge, and I want to make sure you guys have everything you need to make life just a little bit easier.
Awesome. Thank you, Lizzie. And we have Michelle, who has a special guest with her tonight as well. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah. So, hi, guys. My name is Michelle Harvey Martin. I am a sibling, and my Wednesday afternoons are my, you can scoot in now. Wednesday afternoons are my time with my brother. So he's
I love
getting
it.
a little bit weirded out because this isn't what we normally do together.
Right?
Okay, well, come sit down. So I am obviously a sibling and a special education teacher in the Southern California area. So I cover all things IEPs. I also happen to be a BCBA, and so I also have a really strong background with behavior, all things in the classroom setting. You know, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Well, we're excited that we have our special guest here tonight. So thank you for joining us. And Eric, are you there?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so good to see you. And Michelle, great to see you from San Diego there. So Matt, I said hello. And Lizzie, good to see you from sunny Florida. I hope the weather's good down there. And Kathleen, right? Did I say it right?
Catherine, yeah.
Catherine, where are you located again?
She's on mute, but
okay.
She's in Atlanta.
Atlanta,
Sorry,
all right.
me.
Yeah, Georgia area.
All right, well, Georgia has a great Medicaid program. They have the Katie Beckett Waiver, and this is my area of expertise is insurance and particularly Medicaid. My background, just so you are aware, I'm a former a school guidance counselor. I'm a soon-to-be licensed professional counseling associate, and will carry my ESLMH as well, an equine specialist with mental health and learning. But my 15 years prior to that, I was a resource coordinator, and so what I did is I coordinated resources for families, particularly in the areas of government resources, and then got involved with Medicaid, and now have been a longtime member on the Commonwealth of Kentucky's Medicaid Council. So what I want to talk to you about is, well, let me tell you about my family first, okay, before I get going too crazy. We're going to talk tonight about Medicaid and insurance, but I have a beautiful wife of 26 years, going to be 27. We have an adopted daughter that we adopted from the Ukrainian who has cerebral palsy, and so she is on the Medicaid waiver program as well. We have our natural daughter who has Angelman syndrome. Ella, by the way, is 18. We just went through the guardianship process. Our daughter who has Angelman syndrome is 14, will be 15, and that's Elsie. She's deletion positive. And then we have our son, Ethan, who is going to be, he thinks he's going to be like, you know, a 16-year-old, but he's really 11, going to be 12, you know, so, but he came by just a second ago and just smiled real big, and he knows I'm live right now. So we're a very active family, and we love to do things together, and I'm looking forward to talk to you about insurance and Medicaid.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. And Katherine, I'm going to have you introduce yourself too.
So I'm Katherine Healey. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm also a former teacher. I have a 7-year-old, almost 8-year-old son with Angelman syndrome. My husband and I have been married almost 10 years. He's a football coach and a high school strength and conditioning coordinator. And we have 2 other babies, a 20-month-old and a 3-month-old. So we are busy, and I am enjoying a new role in ASF as a family resource advocate and support, and here for anything and everything I can help guide and steer you on.
Well, thank you guys so much. And just so you know, Eric, Bobby Barker Kemp just said that she just moved to Kentucky, so she wanted to give a shout out to you. So that leads me to make sure you guys feel free to ask any questions, because we're watching the questions come through live. That may come up as we start talking. We'll do our best to answer as many as we want. And we're also going to try our best to keep this nice and short and sweet, because we all know that you guys are busy and probably got your hands in a lot of things, just like Michelle does right now. So we'll get started. So Lizzie, I'm going to have you go first. Can you share a couple of your best tips for our families to be thinking about when they think about medical equipment, you know, getting all those things that they need? What are your best tips for them?
Yes, I wanted to highlight several of the products that people didn't know that they could get funded by insurance, which is incontinence products. It's not just diapers sometimes. It can also be wipes, it could be gloves, it could be the disposable bed pads, all of that. So I wanted to make sure you guys knew about that. Talk about safe enclosed beds, if that's something that you're looking for. That is also an option and can be funded by insurance. There's also bathroom equipment. You know, it is dangerous sometimes. It gets slippery in the bathtub, and they are a little wiggle worms sometimes. I know my Nathan is. And so there are bath chairs out there that you guys can get. Again, you can also get it funded by insurance. There's also sensory toys out there to prevent either the chewing on the shirt or the hand biting, things like that. There's a lot of sensory toys out there. There's a lot of websites, including the Ultimate Amazon Special Needs Shop and, you know, sensory malls and stuff like that. So there's tons of resources out there to prevent those things, the hand biting that can really scar up the skin really bad. So there's tons of stuff out there for you guys. I also wanted to talk about adaptive clothing. They are really, there's some really good lines coming out. Target has one that I've kind of I've shared on my page, where there's the large onesies, because we know as soon as they're like size 6, they outgrow everything and there's nothing available. So now Target has a line of clothing that has the shirts with the onesie at the bottom. One of the things I struggled with Nathan is keeping his shirt on at school. And so this has been a lifesaver. Also keeps them out of their diaper. So that's another resource for you guys. And feeding equipment. There's lots of activity chairs and feeding equipment that you can get. We know after they outgrow the high chair, you're kind of like stuck. What do you do? And so I just wanted to let you know there's a Riften activity chair. There's tons of other options out there for you guys. And again, can be funded by your insurance. Possibly, I don't know. Medicaid, it kind of just depends on your carrier. So if you have any questions, need support in that, please reach out to me. I've also created a PDF download that will help walk you through the process. And Amanda, I was thinking maybe I should see about if I can upload it to the group, the ASF group, and people can just
it's already up there. It's already up on the ASF group under the files. So yes, it's already up there. And I would say, if I can give a couple of shout outs with your adaptive clothing, we also have a parent that created their own adaptive clothing line. I think it's called ANJO. I don't know if I pronounced it right, ANJO. So, you know, helping a former individual, a former Angelman family is great. But I want to ask you, and this might be a question you and Eric tackle, because one of the things we get the most questions about is Medicaid or insurance covering safety bed or a conveyed stroller, or even like you said, those Rift and activity chairs. It seems to be a struggle, and it seems to be something that happens sporadically in different states. What can you guys give us as far as advice on how to approach that and how to fight through it when you keep getting denied? I know that's a big question, but you both could probably tackle it, but I want to put it out there.
So I'll just kind of give my little experience. The best thing you can do is first go to your doctor. Let him know it's a medical necessity so that he can write up the script for you. And even if you have to, get him to specifically name the product that you are looking at that you prefer, because sometimes it's all in the details. So if you get your doctor to write the script for you, then work with a local DME, which is a durable medical equipment provider, and find out if they can get that specific product that you are looking for, if they can get it. Now, a lot of times, different DMEs can get different products. So
what's
just
a
because
DME? What's a DME?
Durable medical equipment provider.
Thank you. Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah. So just because one DME might not be able to get you that specific product, they might be able to offer you an alternative, but you can also try another DME. There's tons in every city.
So a couple questions first, and maybe Eric, you can answer this. A couple people have asked about the Katie waiver. Is that only in Georgia? Does that make sense? You know what that is?
Yeah, Katie Beckett was an advocate that was, it actually was the result of a legal suit that required there be community alternative services in states. So like in Connecticut, Jim Kubitska is on the Katie Beckett waiver in Atlanta, but in Kentucky it's called the Michelle P. waiver, typically at the first step. But there's 3 levels of waivers, so I can elaborate on that. I look at the waivers in 3 levels, and I kind of look at it from a functional level, which would be kind of like an example, an analogy would be like your lower end Ford product, right? And then if you get the next level waiver, you have to be on a waiting list for maybe like the Katie Beckett waiver, which would be more like your Honda sedan, right? And then you have to put your name on a long, extensive waiting list in most states for residential services to be included in your waiver program too. And that's kind of like your Cadillac of waiver services. And so that in Kentucky is called the Supports for Community Living waiver. You need to make sure you keep your name on the highest level waivers always, even regardless of the waiting list. Stay there every year annually. Get the functional services first, and then just continue to move along.
So if your insurance company keeps telling you you're being denied, saying it's not medical, it's more behavior, you're denied. I know that there's a point where you're denied, and you reach out to places like the ASF and do the family fund and whatever. But just because you're denied once doesn't mean that's the end, correct?
Well, no, and I would suggest too, become familiar with your protection and advocacy federally funded programs within your state. Their whole mission is to protect and advocate for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. It's a federally funded program. So often the case, if there is a significant significant issue, they're going to come up and they're going to come to your side with their legal team to help you get through those issues too. Yeah. And they often have templates and things that they can help you draft letters. But I think the way Lizzie described how to get a medical bed would be the exact same way I would describe it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would suggest that it can be more challenging in more states, but then don't be afraid to get someone to advocate along with you. I think a lot of times families get into this notion that they got to go this whole route alone. It's better to get help. So help from people who've gone down the journey. ARC of Kentucky and PNA will help you get through some of these journeys.
Well, and I would say,
Amanda,
Go
I was
ahead.
going to say a point to that each state being different is the ASF has the Family Champions group. And so if you are in the state that has a champion, they might be able to kind of help direct you in the right direction for some of these other issues. So I know like within Georgia, I've helped quite a few families get the Katie Beckett waiver because it is such a daunting process, but it's good until 18. And also we will make sure that everyone has the contact information for Lizzie, Eric, and Michelle. So you guys can, after this, if we miss something or you have a specific question, you can make sure to reach out to them as well.
And we're going to be posting all their tips as well, because they have many more than we gave them time to actually talk about tonight. So you won't miss out on anything. And right now we're kind of just jumping around all over the place, but I'm loving the interaction we're getting and the questions we're getting as well. You know, I think it's, you know, we could probably have, and we will have at our August conference, a whole session just on insurance, because the challenging thing about insurance and going through that is sometimes it looks different across the states, right? So that's why we have people like Lizzie and people like Eric that can help through that. But Lizzie, I got off topic. Did you have any more tips that you wanted to make sure you shared before we moved on to the next topic?
That's good. If anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer questions, but I just kind of wanted to condense it all.
No, it's perfect. And like I said, Lizzie is always the person that if you have questions about any sort of equipment, she's who I always go to. Also, make sure I see this all the time on Facebook of people asking, what should I get my individual with Angelman syndrome for their 10th and 9th or 2nd or 23rd birthday? Really, the ultimate Amazon special needs shop is really an awesome place to go where you can find a lot of those cool gifts that you can give. And Lizzie, you've created that and managed that, right?
Yes, I did. Amazon reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to create a shop, and I was like, yes, I know exactly what I want to put in there. And I have different subcategories, everything from sensory toys, safety products, adaptive clothing, adaptive swings, adaptive, just everything you need.
Yes.
Yeah, I had so much fun creating it. It was like my own little shopping list.
Oh, it is my go-to. So we appreciate you doing that. And Lizzie, I'm sure we'll have much more to add about this conversation, but before we get into IEPs, I want to jump back to Eric, because Eric, I'm sure you had more tips. So I want to pass it on to you if you want to share anything else with the journey of insurance that we all both love and hate, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I have some tips, and I've written down 5 of them, pardon me, as I get through my allergy season, kind of clearing my throat situation. But here's the reality. So apply for SSI, Supplemental Security Income, regardless of your income criteria with your state. No matter what age, make that application. Keep that around. If you get approved, that's going to be additional income to be able to provide some resources within your home and improve your quality of life. You apply for SSI through the Social Security Administration. So you need to do that. And then regardless if you're denied or if you get approved, keep a copy of those results for a future Medicaid use, because all Medicaid waivers, you're going to have to first work through the process of SSI. Remember, that is critical. And then at age 18, reapply, because then you can be able to be approved regardless because of your child being an adult age, right? So that's just income. Income is critically important to improving quality of life so that we can have a better situation for our families. Now, when you get on Medicaid, okay, what you hope you can do, and we hope everyone is, there's extensive waiting lists in many states, so be aware, be on those waiting lists. But once you get on Medicaid, seek out your state's health insurance premium payment programs, which is called Iep programs. This program allows you to have your families have access to private coverage and medical coverage. So in Kentucky, the Kentucky Iep program and many Iep programs allow you to be able to have your own private insurance premiums paid for by Medicaid to ensure that you maintain them as your primary Medicaid or your primary insurance provider. What Medicaid is doing is trying to reduce their costs, but then what you're getting is you're getting 2 insurances for no cost. You're having your whole family be able to have their insurance paid. Now, to be clear on this, let me make sure that everybody understands. Large group plans We're not talking, small, I hate to say, small independently owned businesses with small private insurance, you're not going to be able to qualify. But if you work for a company that's 50 or more and have a large group plan, most states will allow you to use the Iep program, okay? Next.
Wait. Eric, how do you spell the Iep? They're asking, how do you spell Iep?
Iep.
Is it H-I-P-P?
H-I-P-P-P, but it's
okay.
H-I-P-P. Like it's in Kentucky, it's the KI Iep program.
Okay.
Yeah, but just learn it's health insurance premium payment programs.
Okay, health insurance.
Yeah, Ieps, and for most families that it just covers your premiums. So for our family, it's $590 a month that we get reimbursed. They pay my premium. So next, use resources through early intervention services right away, 0 to 3, get plugged in with your public school services and get those early intervention services immediately. It doesn't even have to be through the public school system. As long as you go through your comprehensive mental health care provider, whoever runs that contract, use those early intervention services. They're critically important to get your OT, PT, speech, developmental intervention groups, therapeutic recreation, ABA services. All of those things are critically important. Next, and this is research, get an independent evaluation specific for autism. Why do I say autism? The prevalence of autism and Angelman syndrome is nearly 50% or more. If there's a dual diagnosis of Angelman syndrome and autism, you can apply for autism benefits through your private insurance plans that pay for board-certified behavioral analyst services. So you're getting your Medicaid, you're getting your private insurance, but you're also getting coverages that are typically required by private insurances for autism. Critically important, invaluable, get that resource. Last, research and learn about early periodic screening, diagnosis, and treatment programs. Or, if you want to write it down, EPSDT services for any children who are receiving Medicaid under the age of 21. Now, you heard Lizzie talk about the critical word, medical necessity, right? That's going to be always going to be critically important. This coverage for EPSDT is that anything that's not covered through private or anything not covered for Medicaid, but if it's considered to be EPSDT with a prescription from a doctor, is required to be covered by EPSDT programs. For example, as you mentioned it, beds, strollers, durable medical equipment, diapers, wipes, and supplies. The list can be quite extensive, so don't be afraid to go down that road, but you do have to have partnerships with people who've done it in your state. Make sure you know those people. So those would be my 5 big tips. I've got plenty more, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, so it's a lot, and I think for insurance, a lot of people can be incredibly overwhelmed and frightened by the process. And so I think the great thing is, like I said, please, we probably could have done a whole session just on insurance. Our goal is to make sure that we introduce you all to the resource teams tonight, so you guys in return can make sure that you are able to connect with them, and you could have Eric or Lizzie, Michelle, just one-on-one to help you through this. So this is just giving you a little taste, but we promise the goal of the Angelman Syndrome Foundation is always to be there for you and meet you where you're at on this journey, so you're not alone. So make sure you reach out so we can connect you and we can support you through that. So I want to move over and switch topics so we can make sure we get to Michelle, who is going to give us our tips on IEPs. Now, IEPs are probably one of those things that comes up second to insurance in equipment at the foundation. People have so many questions about the IEP process. And so I want to make sure that we're able to get to your tips. But before we do that, I also want to make sure you guys know that there's some great resources on our website for this. We have an Iep Bank. And literally this is a bank that you can go to on our website and type in, for example, Michelle, give me an example.
Gross motor,
there you go.
Like P goal, or
a gross motor,
goal.
A gross motor skill for someone who is 5 years old. Like, you can narrow it down, click it, and you will see the goals that have been created for individuals with Angelman syndrome for that age, for that area. Just so you can help. This is a great tool to help you through this process. Michelle is the other awesome tool that we have for this process. And so I want to pass it on to Michelle so she can give, and Katherine showing it up on her screen up there. So thank you, Katherine. But I want to pass it on to Michelle. If you can give us your tips, we would love to hear them.
Yeah, so obviously I have many, I knew that was going to happen as soon as I started.
I know, right? It's okay, we all get it.
I know, right? If anybody does. So one of the most frequent questions I get is, just can you look over the IEP and what do you think about the IEP? So I think it was the last conference or maybe the conference before, when kind of addressing that question, I created a kind of a worksheet that's like 2 or 3 pages for parents. There's room for you to write on it if you want to. Obviously, it's a little bit more just like reflective questions, and so that's kind of where these tips, we'll call them, come from. But when you're just in general reviewing the IEP, you want to think about, is this meaningful? Is the goal meaningful? I'm getting some assistance from Team Harvey. Hold on.
I love it.
While I'm talking.
That's okay.
Somewhere else for 2 minutes. Okay, so are these goals meaningful to me? Are they going to be meaningful to my child? Are they measurable? Can I tell what the school is going to be working on? Is the criteria, is it reasonable? Do you think, knowing your child's rate of progress, you know your child best, do you think they could accomplish this in a year's time? Things like that. So I think there's like 5 of those kind of main questions that are going to be sent out on the tips. I also know that PDF is posted somewhere on the ASF website. I also have it saved everywhere, so reach out if anybody wanted that in particular. And I did just say earlier, somebody was saying something about in-person advocating with the crazy school year. How can we advocate better in-person school? I do not have a solid answer on that at this point. I have been teaching in person since October, and so it's hard for me to hear that maybe somebody is not having any in-person school at all. I'm hoping things are opening back up. If it's, unfortunately, with the situation right now, it's so dependent on your district, your state, your city, your school, your specific school and program sometimes, and so if that's the case, it might be better to address those individually, those questions individually, when I can kind of get the background and see like who your first route is going to be with, basically you're getting down to, you want to advocate for, there's this amount of IEP minutes that are on their IEP from, regular school year, and that's not happening right now. So you want to advocate for, you're not meeting the IEP right now. Let's make that happen.
I think that's probably a struggle. Yeah, I think that's probably a lot of struggle with a lot of our families this year of trying, with a lot of the being home and being virtual, of trying to figure out how they start acclimating back into the classroom, right? Yeah, definitely. So sorry, I interrupted you. Okay. Go for it.
No, I just wanted to make sure I'm just kind of scanning to see if there were any other education questions. That was kind of the summary I have on the tips. But again, please feel free to reach out, and I can look over IEPs. I can guide you through those questions. We can look at specific areas, communication, behavior, academics, all of that stuff. I live and breathe and sleep all of that stuff.
Well, and I think just like insurance, I think IEP is probably a little bit more even intimate to that specific family. So sometimes it's hard to give general kind of tips on this, but once again, the goal is to let you guys know that those resources are out there. So if you want to spend time with Michelle, she can help you through that process, and it's very easy to connect with her. So a couple things I just wanted to mention. One, I wanted to make sure people know we've seen you in the chat. We hear you, and if you have asked for help, I saw a couple people said that they need help with the insurance. I've written down your name. I will connect with you. I've seen people talk about needing work on finding a communication partner for their son. I will connect with you personally. We will do our best to connect with some of these questions, because some of these may be more individually based. So we can get you the support that you need as you move forward this process. And it's coming through more. So one question really quick, Michelle, what would you say about putting communication partner in an IEP as well as pod book? Any feedback on that?
I think pod book could definitely be listed in the IEP somewhere as whether that's an accommodation or assistive technology. I'm assuming the question is like, are you putting specific pod book versus touch chat app versus Proloquo app?
Sure.
I'm guessing. I will say, I know parents have a lot of AAC devices. Lizzie and Eric, please feel free to chime in because in terms of like naming the specific program, device, etc., districts are going to be, I think they're all going to handle that differently. I'm not quite sure.
I think part of it might be like having a one-on-one aid, like someone to constantly, like if your child were hearing impaired or had something, they would have an interpreter. And so it's kind of the same for a device, an AAC device. And that's what we just got for my son this year, is a one-on-one, a parapro that he can have model and can use that. So that is something that can be added into the IP, and you can help elaborate on that. But I think that is something a lot of parents don't realize, is that you do have that right and that ability and to fight for that. So I wonder if that was the
And I think because it's linked with like communication partner, the question initially was about communication partner in the IEP. I think a good wording to push for in accommodations would be a something like one-on-one aid, trained in aided language stimulation and modeling, like basically trained in the specific kind of methodology for all the modeling and using the device and or the communication system like that. Now we're opening a can of worms. We'll need help getting one-on-ones.
Yeah. So that question, I also want to say there was a question on if I could answer on intensive therapy for a younger individual, and they said I don't think insurance cover this. Eric, do you want to give feedback on that at all?
Well, I think that insurance may not. I mean, it's determined. Well, I guess we would have to determine what intensive therapy looks like, but early intervention services are absolutely available 0 to 3 for a child who has an intellectual or developmental delay. That's required under federal legislation, so that money is there. However, intensive therapies can get a little bit interesting if you're talking about 50 hours a week of board certified behavioral analyst work. It is probably unlikely that you would get that at that age. That's the reality. So you're looking mostly, I think mostly it's going to be OT-PT, speech and developmental intervention at that time. But intensive intervention can be covered with autism and some other diagnoses, but I'm not certain what intensives mean.
Well, I'm thinking it's the ones, though, it's where it's more of the helping with the strengthening of the walking and like the using a particular method. And it's like a 2 or 3 week where you're doing therapy intensive. And I don't think insurance covers most, but what does is the ASF Family Fund would look to cover something like that. So the ASF Family Fund actually closes Friday. The application closes Friday. So if intensive therapy is what you're wanting to do, definitely apply for that through the family fund as therapy that's not covered by insurance is one of the areas that we do support. So we'll need to go back to.
Does.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Like some private insurance does cover it. Some like just if you just have Medicaid or you just have like in Georgia it's Peach Care for Kids, they won't, but some private insurance definitely does. You just have to really prod them for it.
Yeah, and it looks like some people have said intensive does cover, insurance does cover intensive, so you may just need help through that process, which we can help out with that. So let us know. Go back really quickly. Michelle, I don't know if you can answer or help out with the one-to-one question because it did come up a lot.
Yeah, that's going to be, I feel like that's best individually because you're going to need to look at how to justify to them how the theoretically the special day class, if they're in the special day class setting, they have a really low staff to student ratio already. And so you're going to have to look at justifying how that or why that isn't working and how that can happen. And so I think that would be, I was trying to put my email address in the chat and I can't figure out this.
I can't figure out the chat either, but Lizzie's been able to do it. So I don't know how Lizzie's been able to chat and I can't figure out how to chat. So maybe it's just me because I don't know how to use live.
I have an extra screen open of the ASF.
Oh, that's
your
why.
page, Amanda. Actually, your page that it went live on.
Well, so here's what you guys can do is all you have to do is go to our website and under resources, look at resource team. And on there, there's a place where you can submit to connect with one of these resource directors. However, I also got most of your names. If you said I need help with one-on-one, with insurance or whatever, I've been watching the chat and I've been covering that. So I'll make sure to do what I can to get you guys connected as much as we can. But I know we're over time tonight. I really have enjoyed this, y'all, right? I mean, like I said, I think we could probably talk about this stuff forever. We still have stuff coming in. So we will, I don't want to stop answering. We'll grab some of these questions that have come through. And we'll make sure to get them answered. Go ahead, Eric.
Let me share my screen real quick. One thing I do want to share in a Chrome tab is like a lot of people are asking, about HIP programs. So I'm sharing right now is like it's literally just do a Google search of like the Florida Health Insurance Premium Payment Program overview. And if you just Google search that, you're going to find out the details behind it, but it's going to go through the specifics of it. Colorado's was a little different. I don't know if you're seeing Colorado's. It's called the Health Insurance Buy-In Program. So it's HIBI. So they do change the name sometimes, but hopefully you can see that. I'll stop sharing and
no, that's great.
Yeah, so I wanted to share those two things. So don't dig around it. It's really just kind of look at health insurance buy-in or premium programs.
And I think this is a really good question too before we go. Someone asked, do you think that there would be any reason why anyone would want to be hesitant about obtaining an autism diagnosis?
I would say absolutely no. No.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Yeah, so I currently teach an autism classroom, and as a BCBA, so if those aren't familiar, that stands for Board Certified Behavior Analyst. If you have the autism diagnosis, for those of us living in the Angelman syndrome world, it's a little bit unfortunate, but if you have an autism diagnosis, the doors just open wide for services, for behavior intervention, for just a much wider variety of services. So if you are able to get that and access that, I don't see any, Angelman syndrome will always be there and a diagnosis. So it's not like you lose the Angelman syndrome side of it. It's just showing that you also, are able to access many other things. Yeah, somebody just said you don't have to disclose a diagnosis with your school. That I agree with that too.
Yeah, it's just a way to get more resources.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I was going to share
insurance
that. I have the dual diagnosis for Nathan, and the reason is because when we're going to the specialist, a lot of times you say Angelman syndrome and they have no clue what we're talking about. There's no known treatment, no known cure. They have no idea what to refer them to for support services. But the second you say autism, they say, oh, okay, here's ABA, here's, there's a whole list. It's becoming more familiar to everybody and all of the professionals, so they can start offering more support in that way. But that's why Angelman syndrome will always be the primary genetic diagnosis.
Yeah. Okay. That's great feedback. There's a lot of people that may not even know that is something that they're able to do, and what kind of resources that opens up to. Another resource to point out on the website as well, we have a map of the United States, and you can click your city, and there's a bunch of resources from each city. So maybe one thing that we should do, Katherine, is add the Iep links to that site as well, so people can access that as well from that their state map. So okay, I'm sure things will keep going, but we're gonna wrap it up just because we wanted to make sure that these were quick and got you a lot of information. We sure hope you had fun with us tonight. Come back, because the good news is each month we're going to be doing this. We're going to be talking diet. We'll talk. We're going to be talking all things dental. That is always a hot topic with our community. Dental issues. We're going to be talking about research. We'll talk about clinics. We'll talk about. I don't even remember what else is on the list, Katherine.
Another thing is if there's a specific topic that y'all want to make sure that we're lining up these specialists now, and we're trying to make sure we hit things. We don't want to just gear just to children either. We want to make sure that we are getting services for siblings and adults, and some tougher topics too. So please feel free right now, if there's something very specific, or not very specific, but generally you want to type it in. We'll make sure we try and get to it.
Absolutely. I want to thank my amazing guests tonight, not only for everything that you do for the community, but for everything that you do for the Angelman community. We love you guys so much. Thank you for being resource directors for us. All my beautiful families out there tonight, I hope you have a wonderful evening, and we'll catch you at the next All Things AS with Amanda. Have a good night, everybody. See you later.
Bye, man. Bye, everyone.